All right. Well, hello, everyone. So, my name is Mac Harvey, and welcome to the new podcast called The Next Chapter. And I'll get into a little bit later of why is it I call it that. But I want to kind of introduce you to a new wave of thinking of how we're going to do a podcast. And we're not going to base it on type of one theme. We're going to base it off of a multitude of different things, a multitude of different topics. And we're going to start from talking about business to government, to travel, to fitness, to current events. We're going to talk about dating, relationships. We're going to talk about all the things that are part of the human evolution that we deal with on in our daily lives. And there's going to be um, different people that's going to be on here to discuss. In the upcoming next episode, we're going to actually talk to one of my good friends that I used to work with. We did some consulting before when I lived in Washington, D.C. And we're going to actually talk about the state of our government and the state of what it's like behind the scenes as doing consulting for the federal government space. And we're going to talk about also, our upbringings, where we grew up. There's a lot of different funny stories we're going to share. It's going to be very entertaining and exciting. And I'm glad that you want to be part of this journey. Um, I think, so forgive me as this is my first time actually doing this. I've always wanted to do a podcast. So I'm just going to start by this first episode introducing myself and who am I for the ones who don't know me. So, yes, I'm Mac Harvey. I am originally from Southwest Virginia in a very small town. And I will actually, probably, you probably never heard of this town, but I will say most people have probably heard of Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech Hokies were. So that is kind of my region of where I'm from, where kind of in the town I grew up in. Um, it was literally where everybody knows everybody. When you honk your horn, people actually wave at you and smile and be nice. So it's a very different dichotomy than, when you're living in the city. And for me, as someone who's lived in four major American cities, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later here. But yeah, so growing up in a small town in Virginia was wonderful. It was just like a very tranquil type of environment that you would have never thought. It's a great place to, have a family, raise children, such a safe community. I love those kind of things. It was just like so serene. Um, and once I graduated high school, shortly after, I left and I moved to the big city. So I moved to Washington, D.C. I had family up there. I went to undergrad and, made some amazing friends. And I will say, um, college really changed my life in ways that I can never say. And I talk about this, I won't spoil it, but now I will segue a little bit into. So I am an author of three books. My very first one is called Dream, Walk, Live, and it talks about the first 25 years of my life that really helped transcend and help me get to where I am today and made me who I am and a lot of the influential people that really helped, shape that journey for me. And a lot of those people are still in my life today. Well, actually, all of them are. So it's truly a blessing. I will say. But I won't spoil it more. So definitely that, if you're a huge for all my big avid book readers, yes. That was my very first book. My second book is called Brickle Boss, which is based on some very cool friends of mine that I met living here in South Florida. And So that book is kind of it's adult fantasy. It's kind of like Sex in the City meets 50 Shades of Grey. That's the best way for me to really come. So it's definitely a grown and sexy book, but definitely go out and and check that out. If that's something that a kind of a genre that you're into. And then my last book, it's because I'm writing. It's a trilogy, so it's a period piece that takes place in the I want to say the Baroque period. Uh, so it's called Accession, Night versus Dark. And just to give you a brief synopsis, so it's about a princess who rebels against the king, and she doesn't want to marry for duty, so she breaks from tradition, and renounces, her position and leaves, and starts her own empire and following, and she becomes a leader amongst people within the realms that she is serving. And it's really great. And you see, you know, um, someone take a leadership role from a different path, but her leadership role and path that she took end up being the savior that really was part of helping all the realms. And I won't spoil it too much, but it's definitely a page turner. It's adult fantasy. So if you like Game of Thrones, and things like that, then I'm sure you will probably like this type of book here. So just kind of give my audience something different. I know I'm not the usual type of author who normally writes one type of genre and then just sticks with that. I kind of broke that barrier. I will have to say I'm on my own island when it comes to that. So, but yeah, so I've lived in New York for a couple of years. I've lived in DC the majority of my life. I did live in Los Angeles for I want to say almost a couple of years as well. So, and it was great to get all these experiences coming from a small town and just learning all these cultures. And one of the things that I have really learned a new passion in my adulthood is I've done a lot of world travel, and I've always was curious about the world. My father really instilled that in me at a very early age, as well as fitness, and I'll talk about that too because he was the one who got me into that too. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a second here. But yes, world travel has been something of mine for quite some time. I think for me right now, I've traveled over 75 countries. And it's been absolutely one of the greatest, most impactful things I've ever done. Um, and one thing about this podcast that I definitely want to do is I want to definitely empower people. I really want to help people just step outside the box and do things, hopefully inspire you to do something you probably never thought you'd do or, which is important. But yes, my father was definitely someone who he liked to he couldn't stay in the house much. He liked to just get out and take road trips a lot. So what I did a lot growing up. So I guess the travel bug really started with him. And then I took it next level and getting the passport. And I will say some of the most beautiful places I've been to. I love Bali. I love the Maldives. I love Dubai. Um, Literally, it has definitely been one of the greatest. Well, some of those trips were just absolutely amazing. Even going to like Fiji, I would have never thought I would have ever done something like that coming from a small town. Um, but I've learned when you watch people like Anthony Bourdain and all these people, like, life is meant to be lived and it's meant to be lived in a multitude of different ways. So the reason why I say I call this the next chapter, because I feel like life is one book. and we're all going through different chapters of it. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and I'm sure everybody has a book in us. We all got an interesting story we got to tell, from heartbreaks to setbacks, and that's something, definitely want to, share with you all, and help, you all grow. So that's a part of me. Yeah. Now, the fitness side of myself, yes, I do love fitness a lot. I definitely do. I'm a huge avid person of like going to work out. It's like a second home, But the reason why my father took me to the gym when I was at a very young age is because there were a lot of health issues in my family. And he really wanted me to learn something early that he didn't learn till late, is how important it is to really take care of your health. And, God rest his soul, but, that was a huge saving grace for me as I became, older. And health really did save my life. And a part of my health journey is I have been a vegan for 5 years, and veganism was a huge turning point for me because I did, have some health issues myself that I had encountered. And I realized that nutritionally, I had to really learn about your micros and getting your macros, properly into your body, and how important that really does make a difference in your health and fitness journey. So that's something we're also going to talk about as well in this podcast, because I think we all, there are different things that we just need to learn, and grow. And I'm going to have different people come on here, and we're going to talk through it and empower the mind. Because I have friends of mine that are in fitness. I have friends that are world travelers. I have friends that are entrepreneurs. I have friends, and we're all going to just come on here, you know what I'm saying, and really just give you a new chapter of how to look at something. And that's really what this podcast is truly all about. So I am, I'm looking forward to getting feedback from you as well. I like, when I hear back from people who listen, to the podcast. So that's important as well. So, and if you have questions and things like that, please ask. If you're traveling somewhere and you want to get some advice about what to do, where to go, I would love to share that. If you're starting your fitness journey, I would love to help you. If you want to write a book, I would love to help you there. Whatever you need. I'm here. If you're thinking about relocating and moving, definitely come and share that. That really helps. Um, so I know I don't like to you. One thing you will learn about me is definitely I'm not a traditionalist, or I don't, I like to be on my own island. So I'm going to do a podcast a little different. So, but yes, this is the introductory podcast where you learn about me. I know there's gonna be times, I'm gonna have my co-host, which is my best friend David. We're gonna have an episode where we talk about the dynamics of how our 20-year brotherhood has forged, and how important it is to put people in your circle that are lifting you up, that are empowering you, that even in your darkest moments, you can go to, and be able to support each other. Because I've learned your real friends is during your trying times, not doing when you're on setting on the mountaintop. And I think you know Will Smith, I believe, was the one who said this. He is was like, if you weren't there during my struggle, you can't be there during my success. And, that is a very true statement, So I'm all about, having the right people, and that's a very important thing. Um, but yes, so um And I'm hoping, you know what, in this current time, in this current season, in 2025, I know there has been a lot that has transpired in 2025. And let's get into that just a little bit here. So, you know, um, I will say, I'm not going to talk much about politics or anything like that, but I will say I want to talk about the impact of the decisions that are being made and how it's transcending lives and transcending not only in America, but also just from a global perspective. And I think that's something we need to talk about as well. You know, um, but I will say, me coming from the consulting space, so a lot of part of my background is I've been in the IT software engineering space for my gosh, I've been doing it for 20 years. I landed my internship at IBM over 20 years ago, and everything just kind of took off from there. And then I got into the government contracting space and worked with a lot of influential companies over the years. So, helping, a lot of different missions, and which is something I like. I really do. But I've also, turned to other passion projects, and then, now, trying to do a podcast now is very important to me. So, um, but yeah, but this is a part of, you know, this new journey of mine, and I'm very excited and happy to be a part of this right now. And doing this, I feel like it's definitely time. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you all and meeting other people. And yeah, we're gonna make this fun. We're gonna make this exciting. We are going to definitely. There's a lot of great things that are coming down the road here. So, but yes, like I was saying, the next episode. You're going to hear me speak with her. Her name is Dr. Janelle Billingsley, and we're going to talk about if you are someone who's interested in the government contracting space and you're looking to expand your business or looking for new opportunities in that, we're going to talk about that and help you get segued into that. And we're going to talk about some other funny stories from our work experience together. And we're going to talk about some funny pandemic stories that we've had to endure during that episode. And, talk about more kind of like, where we came from and a lot of things like that. So it's going to be great. I'm definitely hoping that you will definitely chime in, and I'm looking forward to this journey with you guys. So, but I'm hoping everyone is having an amazing weekend. Um, and yeah, be safe out there, and look forward to the next episode with you.